everyone on this lovely sunny day. It's just gorgeous. I'm Maura Stiles and I'm the president of the Otago Settlers Association. I figure by now most people will know because I say it every time. If people aren't members and they'd like to join, they can do it at the front desk. Now, what I've got is a couple of messages. One is our Christmas function is going to be held on Thursday the 5th of December. And it's going to be a quiz team followed by a special supper. The doors open at 6:30, at 7 o'clock start. We need to know numbers, so if you can tell Jude, who's at the back, if you're attending, or you'll get an email about it, so please let us know. And in case you don't know, it's always free, so it's absolutely excellent, so it's a must come to. Now, our speaker today is Karthic SS. He's a Dunedin-based wildlife filmmaker and podcast producer. He said he's been making wildlife films for 6 years and podcasts for a couple of years. And he's left his podcast cards at the back, so you can get them if you like. He's going to have a talk today titled Telling Stories About Nature and Wildlife, and he's going to show some of his podcasts in a short film. So we welcome him.
So, kia ora everyone, and thanks for coming here. So, like Moira introduced me, my name is Karthik, and I'm going to talk about my work in wildlife filmmaking and podcast production. So, and I'm going to play a few clips of.
Turn it down a little
Yeah, cool. Is it too loud?
It's right here.
So, I'm going to play some clips of my podcast as well, and at the end of the talk, we might have a short film screening of about 12 minutes. It's about a film about a conservation dog here. So that's my work. I tell stories through filmmaking and podcasting. And I've been grateful to go to different places around Aotearoa, New Zealand. So that's in Stewart Island, in Tin Range. We were interviewing Department of Conservation ranger there. Put him in a spot. He's thinking what to answer my questions. So I'm doing an interview. So it's about Stewart Island dotterels. So that's what we are talking about there, and also got into podcasting. So that's talking with Town Bell Kaitiaki, the school student-led program who are rewilding urban nature in Dunedin. And that's where I come from. So that's India, and you can see the Arabian Sea, Sri Lanka over there, and that's where I come from. So the subcontinent, typical tropical weather, 35 degrees, and that's the coldest it gets is around 20 in December, and people put a couple of layers on for 20 degrees, and that's because it's all relative to us. And you can see, I think Bollywood, India, where I'm coming from India, and then people think of Bollywood. Bollywood is over there somewhere. So we are away from all that. So we are down south, and we watch Bollywood films, but it's a different geography. And we're close to the coast, 100 kilometers to the west coast. And this is the west coast, and that's where I'm from, where the heart is. So you can see these are the mountain ranges that's there. These are tropical evergreen forests running through, and very similar to our west coast as well. The west coast of South India gets a lot of rain, and we are in the range. I'm in the rain shadow region, and it's great for us, great for wildlife, great for traveling. And on some of my this is on my run outside my city. So it's about 20 kilometers outside my city. So when you think about it, you're on the peninsula, and so that's the relative distance from my hometown to this place. And there's a male elephant, that one, just walking on the road casually, he's just browsing on vegetation, feeding. And you can see the height there. I think he's as tall as a bus. There's a bus waiting to come on site. So he's quite big, and I think they just take their own time, and people will have to wait for them, and until he passes and leaves the way. So he's finally left, and he's gone away. So he's that big. So many elephant corridors throughout our hometown, and those mountain ranges. I think the lights. In the photo is a bit dim, but it's. So these are the mountain ranges of the of my city, the view. So getting, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so as the sun set, Western Ghats mountain ranges, people are still discovering species there, new wildlife species, new frogs, new reptiles from there. So that's the part of the landscape. And so coming back into the podcast I'm producing, it's called Tune into Nature. So I've been doing it for around 2 years now. And so the idea started with sharing nature sounds to people. And also when we are out recording sounds, why not tell it as stories? So each episode features experts in the field, biologists, conservationists and community members working through on conservation projects. And to provide an immersive experience and sort of to make it harder, I record all the interviews outdoors, so which gets tricky when it's windy, when it's during spring, especially when all the conservation work happens. But I think it works, and I've heard people say, okay, that's great. When I hear the show, I feel like I'm out and about. So I think I'm very happy when I hear that. And also it's a narrative styled show where it's not a talk show where we ask questions and there's answers, but we also get an interview and then we record, edit those interviews into a narrative style storytelling experience. So this enables me to provide a bit of context as well to people who might not know a lot about wildlife. So, and that's us recording in Catlins in the temperate rainforest with Francesca Cunningham. I think she's the Forest and Bird projects manager, and we are talking about the tree there. And we have been lucky to get recognition. We got a couple of recognitions now. We've been selected as a finalist in the Best Independent Podcast category in the New Zealand Radio and Podcast Awards. And recently in the New Zealand Web Fest, it was selected in 2 categories, Best Concept and Best Podcast Nonfiction. So we're getting that recognition, and most of our stories are about South Island, and many of the stories are not presented elsewhere on audio visual media. So I feel that's great to give those stories some attention and exposure. And for the last couple of seasons, I think we've been funded by Lotteries Grant, Environment and Heritage Fund. And the show goes on air on Otago Access Radio, and it's done in collaboration with Science Communication, University of Otago. And Wild Dunedin also helps us promote and support us on social media. And so one of these episodes, so my thing with selecting stories is I try and select sort of underdog wildlife, the wildlife that's not really lesser known, or people do not know much about or forgotten, disappeared from our radar. So that led me to a search, led me to the West Coast, and that's the sunset in West Coast, Punakaiki, the beach there. And so there are these petrels, the seabirds that live in the forest there. So when I went there, I thought, okay, I'm going to the coast, but I think they come right into the forest. So this is where they live, and the coast is on that side. And you can see the little sign next 4 kilometers. That's a symbol of a petrel, the seabird there. So they just crash land into the forest like this. So this is the typical forest. So I came to know about Bruce Stuart Menteith, who's been working there, who had been working there for conserving petrels. And this is the short snippet of our interview with Bruce.
We can go through a bit of a track through the bush. We've got duck boards down to get across the creek, so you don't get wet feet. So we'll just head on our way down through the bushy track.
This is Bruce Stuart Menteith taking us on a walk into the forest. We crossed a stream and came to the start of long wooden stairs going up the hill, built by Bruce himself.
Yeah, so there's a lot of steps on the way up. So if you've got a sore knee, that could be a problem.
These are nocturnal birds that we are looking for, and the forest was dense. so it was pretty dark. We made our way up the steps with flashlights on, and we arrived at a viewing shelter. As we sat down on a wooden bench, in front of us we could see tall trees and the hills beyond through the canopy gap.
Don't turn your back on this canopy gap in front of us. Some birds use this side as a land for landing. They come in straight towards us and plump down to the ground, sometimes landing right on the deck of the viewing shelter, but sometimes in amongst the kiki there. And if you're really lucky, you could have one land on your lap. So it's just a matter of sitting down, make yourself at home.
Suddenly, we saw a silhouette of a large bird flying right towards us.
Here it comes.
It was fully black with a strong yellowish beak, and it landed right next to us on the wooden bench. And this was the bird we were looking for, the Westland petrel. So yeah, that's the audio, but that's the petrel coming in. The photo was taken earlier by Bruce, and so that's how they come in. So they do not actually land like typical birds, they just crash through the trees. And that's the petrel coming in, and they crash through the trees, and Bruce calls it crash, 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 thump. So you hear crashing them through the branches, and then they fall into the ground, plonk, thump, and then they walk to the burrows. And then we were really I was really happy that it was rolling that time when a petrel landed right next to us, and that was the sound of the petrel landing on the wooden bench. So yeah, they're unique in many ways. So they nest only in part of 8-kilometer part of coastline of the entire west coast, which is around hundreds of kilometers, but they nest only around in Punakaiki region, which is 8 kilometers of coastline, and that makes it special. And they're also one of the only few birds that breed during the New Zealand winter. And we were in the breeding colony during August, during late winter. So, and this is what the colony sounds like. Bruce used to call it sort of a chorus, but you will see how chorusy they are. So these are the sounds from the colony. So that's one of the episodes in West Coast about the Westland petrels. The next one is about right in Dunedin, in our own city. We're looking for velvet worms. That's Dave Randall over there, and they're looking for peripatus, tiny little. They're not worms. They are not insects. They are in their own separate phylum. So they're really unique, and they're just 1 to 2 centimeters long. They're trying to find peripatus with. That's Marcia Dale there, and then that's her daughter, and they're trying to spot peripatus. So you can hear them chatting now.
Wow, no, look at this. Everybody come around here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right, there's the mother load in there, and it right in there and back
7.
Well, I can see about 20.
I am in Dave Randall's garden in the city of Dunedin, along with Gabby and Harriet, who have just spotted fascinating tiny creatures that live on the forest floor.
So they're actually active hunters that hunt for themselves from the time they're born.
There's one in there.
Good spotting. Now that's great spotting, isn't it?
What we are looking at are peripatus or velvet worms. They are kind of a purplish color, just about 2 to 3 centimeters long, slowly crawling about in the cracks and crevices of rotten logs.
That's just a peripatus castle in there. All the wee cracks and crevices that they've got. So these are sort of adults. There's a group there which are called sub-adults, with adults.
They look similar to a caterpillar, but do not have any visible segments along their body. They have multiple pairs of legs and a pair of antennae with which they sense. They are called velvet worms due to their soft, velvety appearance, but they are not really worms. They are so unique that scientists have classified them into their own separate phylum, Onychophora. To put things in perspective, all of the insect species have their own phylum, Arthropoda. And they've been around for over 500 million years, way before the dinosaurs.
They're living fossils.
And they're older than trees.
They have the claws on the end of their feet. They like to live.
little
They like to
hairs.
live in crevices and rotten wood.
And damp places.
Yeah, damp places would be good. And I don't think you'd find one in a very dry pine cone. So.
Gabby and Harriet Dale are studying in Year 6 and Year 3 in Tainui School, Dunedin. They have developed a special interest in the peripatus and have dropped into Dave's garden to explore further.
People just think of like wolves and bears and stuff to be like really cool and scary, but if we were the size of like an ant, these would be like demons to us. It'd be like terrifying monsters.
I think that small stuff are more interesting and funner to find. Because if you were just walking in the forest and then you saw a bear, because that would be scary, but if you saw a bear the size of a peripatus, it wouldn't be scary.
So, yeah, that's the peripatus. So, they look big, but with the macro lens, they will look big, but they're only 1 to 2 centimeters long, and so they live in very moist environments, and the Dunedin species. They think there are quite a few species around New Zealand, but not all have been named and described, and there's still scientifically a lot to find. And scientists do not know much about the Dunedin species as well. So what they do, how they function, they're just starting to look into it. So that's a piece of mystery right in Dunedin city. So they live, you can find them around town belt. And this was Dave's place, has a lot of them. It's in Caversham Valley. So I think, and he's been monitoring them and speaking up for them. And we also got a chance to go into other places like the Horden Valley, which is in the Arthur's Pass National Park. So we went there to find a special songbird there, and this episode is in one of my recent series about the mohua. So we went there, and then right at the start, I think we had multiple river crossings, and right at the start you get your feet wet, and that's how you go through all along, and from morning until we get back to the base at night. So this involved like around 25 kilometers of walking through this, and then the forest. So it's a prime beach forest. So we went in there as well. That's where the mohua live. And I joined Marion over there on the left, and Joe. They both work at Department of Conservation, and they're trying to catch the mohua. They're netting. They're putting up mist nets, and they're trying to catch mohua to put color bands on them so that they can identify the individual birds and monitor their population. So, and that's a short clip about the mohua.
So when the bird approaches from that direction, Marion plays a call on the other side of the net. And hopefully the bird will just go directly to the call and go into the net. But sometimes they will go over the top of the net to get to the bird call.
Let's play it again.
So when the bird approaches from that direction, Marion plays a call on the other side of the net, and hopefully the bird will just go directly to the call and go into the net. But sometimes they will go over the top of the net to get to the bird call.
I'm in a native forest with Marion and Joe from the Department of Conservation. We are surrounded by tall beech trees, and in the clearing, they have set up a mist net.
We sort of want corridor in the trees. We want low foliage that the birds will come down to. We don't want it too close to the net because otherwise they don't hit the net with enough force to get caught. And if it's too far away, they hit the net with a lot of speed and they bounce out. So it's kind of a bit of a juggling act of setting it up so it's in a good spot for catching.
This is Marion Rhodes, and she's playing birdsong on the loudspeaker, trying to lure in one of Aotearoa's rare songbirds.
Marion's playing a distress call to try and encourage some interest from the other two birds that are up in the canopy, but they're looking decidedly uninterested.
So we wait.
He has come closer. He's coming closer.
Suddenly, I saw a bright yellow bird fly right into the net.
That's exactly how it's supposed to go, Karthic.
It's a mohua, also known as the yellowhead. It's found only in the South Island and Stewart Island of Aotearoa, and only in small pockets of native forests like here in the Horn Valley in the Arthur's Pass region. For a bird that bright, mohua are surprisingly under the radar.
A lot of people haven't heard about mohua, even though it's featured on our $100 banknote. A lot of people haven't seen a $100 banknote. And also it was, for a long time, it was known as the yellowhead. So when we call it by its correct Maori name, people go, what, who? And I think that's a real pity because it once was pretty much the most common forest bird. So it's really nice to be able to raise awareness of the mohua.
Marion and Joe are about to put color bands on the mohua so that they can identify individuals and monitor their numbers in the Horn Valley.
And this population is quite important simply because it's one of the places that it's easy for people, it's accessible for people to come and see them on the mainland. Some of the places like the Landsborough are much harder to get to, so it'd be great if we had a really healthy population back here again.
So that's the mohua. Mohua there. So I think you can see the tails are pretty worn out. So they also use their tails to grip the trees when they're flying around and looking for little insects. So once the most common native bird, and now it's in decline, and many populations are still in decline because of introduced predators, and Marion and Joe are working to monitor these birds and see how they're doing. And that's them holding the mohua there, putting bands on them here. So, and one other film I had to, like I mentioned, it's about Stewart Island, southern New Zealand dotterels in Stewart Island, Rakiura, and this the Twin Range landscape. There are cushion plants and native tussock grass, and that's the dotterel there. We got the northern New Zealand dotterel as well, but this one is more endangered. And when we went to film, there were only 160 birds left, and now it's come down to 120, around 120 or even lesser than that, I think. And this is the film I'm gonna play you in a bit. It's about Sniper. She's trained to sniff out yellow-white penguins, and she's been helping yellow-white penguin conservation, another critically endangered species, so you will see what she's going to do. And this film I sent it to a few awards and few festivals, and grateful for it to be screened. Typical Dunedin story, South Island story, to be screened around the world in India and the US Wild and Scenic and London Eco Festival, and in Malaysia as well. So it's gone to a few festivals, and it won the Best Newcomer Award in India for this as a student. This was my student film, produced a few years ago at Science Communication at the University of Otago. So I'll just play that now. It's a 10-12 minute film.
The South Island of New Zealand is home to the most endangered penguin in the world, yellow-eyed penguin. Their numbers are heading for rock bottom. Down from nearly 7,000 2 decades ago, there are just 3,000 birds left today. Predators, disease, global warming, life for a yellow-eyed penguin is no walk on the beach. Their existence is in peril. But hope is not lost. Searching hard for concealed nests or treating injured penguins, a huge effort is put in to stabilise the dwindling population. In order to help the birds, it's important to monitor their nests. But tracking down these elusive penguins is tricky. Is there a simple way to find them? Yes, send out Sniper. She's one of a kind, fully trained to detect yellow-eyed penguins. She's changing the way of finding the world's rarest penguins. The Wildlife Hospital in Dunedin plays a crucial role in giving medical care to sick animals. And when an injured yellow-eyed penguin's brought in, the stakes get raised.
The main things that we're treating here is quite often predator wounds, and there's not much out in the wild that you can do about that. It's more about us treating them when they come in. The two yellow-eyeds have both got toe injuries, so they're on antibiotics. This afternoon was just their feeding time pretty much, so we very cleverly hide their medication in their food and then give them their medication in their food in the afternoon. Thank you. So with these yellow-eyeds, it's really important that when it's key times of year that we know that they're going to get injured, that people are out there looking for them, and that the faster they're found, the faster they can get treatment, which is better.
Yellow-eyed penguins choose concealed spots to live in, and tracking them down in dense bush can take long man-hours. Former ranger Leith Thompson has come up with a new way. Sniper. His trusted companion, a wire-haired Whistler. Sniper's no ordinary dog. Her sense of smell has won her a job, tracking down hard-to-find yellow-eyed penguins. She's one of the 80 dogs deployed in New Zealand to help protect endangered wildlife.
It was about 7 years ago, maybe a bit more now. I had a trip down to the subantarctics, and we were looking for breeding yellow-eyed penguins. A lot of wind, low vegetation, thick bush, they just scattered, and trying to track them to their nest was extremely difficult. And I realised lots of other New Zealand birds had species dogs, so why couldn't we use one on the yellow-eyed penguins? No one had done it before, but it was worth a go, I thought, so that's when I started looking into the dog.
So dogs really perceive the world in a different way to humans. We're very visually oriented, and dogs are very oriented through their nose. One analogy would be if a person took off their smelly socks in a New Zealand's largest mall, which is Sylvia Park Mall in Auckland, then a dog would be able to smell that that person had taken off their socks from anywhere inside the mall.
Okay, get it.
Their sense of smell is amazing in terms of the minute quantities that they can detect.
Good dog. Good girl.
Once a scent is imprinted and the dog's rewarded for sniffing it out, it can be trained to recognise a specific target. For Sniper, it's the yellow-eyed penguin.
Hunting wild pigs is another long tradition.
Dogs' superb sense of smell was first mainly used to help hunters. They sniffed out hidden game for their masters to bring down. Putting dogs to work for conservation was a New Zealand invention.
It began kind of with Richard Henry, who was a conservationist in the 1890s. And he was based down in Fiordland, and he used dogs to find kakapo and kiwi, and he would attach a little bell to the dogs and then set them loose into the bush, and they would sniff out the kakapo. That was really the first use of conservation dogs in New Zealand.
tracking protected species or unwanted pests, conservation dogs are leading the way in wildlife rescue. And Sniper is unique. Last year, she passed her final exams to be a fully certified yellow-eyed penguin dog. Her challenge now? Searching for penguin nests in the new breeding season.
Got her back. I didn't want to use her kennel name as a really bad name. We won't go into that. So, we'd been on the Southern Antarctic, so I got to see the little bird, the snipe. And there's a cool bird. It had a long nose, ran around the ground, and I really liked that bird. So, being a pointer as well, the Whistler, I came across Sniper as a name. She hadn't had many commands, but she had the basics. So we just started off walking around the streets, stopping on the corners of roads, making her sit, walking beside me on one side, all the basic commands you want in a good dog. So as we're doing this training out, just walking around the track, especially in Jubilee Park, I noticed she was very good on the point, especially with little ground birds and stuff. The tail, the nose, the paw up, which is quite interesting with no training. That made me think she'd be a good fit into the dog program, and that I could work on that to have a dog that might work really well to find yellow-eyed penguins out there.
When not training hard, Sniper unwinds with some family time.
So I guess one of the key things for me was, if this didn't work, having a species dog, is I'd want a dog for a family pet, and the timing was right with a child coming along. She loves our daughter Naya. They can just have fun, you know, kid and dog, you know, like it should be, playing ball, you know, cuddling up, feeding the dog, you know, having those just fun times around the household. It's just been really nice to see how Sniper fits in with the family. Some key advice I got early on was home should be fun, playtime, and don't involve work or training at home. When we put that muzzle on, and especially the coat, she changes into right work mode, and something clicks in her and she just focuses really intently on me. Yeah, something we've always done. Get home, gear off, nothing to do with work. Go away, put the gear on, training, focus.
For their teamwork to be successful, Leith and Sniper must be firmly bonded.
The Hungarian Whistler is quite unique with the bond for one person they pick up on. I can tell just the way she looks at me, and all I have to do is look at her. That's a key element out in the field, to have that working relationship. You need to trust each other. You had long days out there in thick bush, wet weather, hot, all sorts of conditions, and you've got to have fun doing that. And I guess for me, it's exciting times, but also I almost have more pressure on me because now we are fully qualified. We've been to some sites where we've searched all day and found no birds at all. Hopefully this year goes well, and that sets a benchmark for other people or another dog or even us.
It's time. Leith and Sniper head out to the coast to look for nests. All the hours of training now come into play. Rugged terrain, changing weather, and dense bush, they are not short of challenges. There's some trouble. Sniper has stepped on a stinging nettle.
There's nothing there though, pup.
She is stung on her paw, which can be painful.
Come on. Up, up, up,
But this is no time to rest.
Good girl.
She has to focus on the task ahead.
Come on, good girl, that's it. Walk it off.
The penguins sometimes nest near native tree nettle. The stinging leaves work well to keep intruders away. The direction of the wind can make or break a search. To not miss a scent, she'll have to work up the scent cone. Leith makes sure that Sniper doesn't get close to stinging nettle again. One sore paw is enough for the day.
Come here.
Yellow-eyed penguins need their privacy. They walk a great distance into the bush to nest out of sight of each other. So a nest could be out there anywhere, close by or far away. That's her point. Visitors like Sniper freeze up on a strong scent, the scent of a nesting penguin.
Okay, up, sit, stay. Good girl. Good dog. Good girl. Good find. Stay there.
Sniper has found her first nest for the season.
So it's really rewarding and quite cool that you can show up to reserve and in the first few minutes she's onto a bird. When she does find a nest, the birds seem relaxed, and it's a whole different approach to nest searching than what I used to do. And more often than not, she'd lead me to a nest that I had no idea was there. And it's just rewarding to see a penguin not stressed out, worried about the number of people or voices. So I guess there's a key element of success. Stay.
This season, up till now, Sniper has tracked down 16 nests. In several sites, she's found nests that weren't found by the human searchers. And, if need be, she can be sent out to quickly search and help rescue injured penguins to the hospital. Every day is an adventure for a conservation dog. And on the edge of the world, Sniper is protecting the world's rarest penguins.
So that's Sniper, the short film. Yeah, I think every season they go out. I think now they might probably be out looking for yellow-eyed penguins on the coast. So I hope you enjoyed the film, and I think mostly that's it. And to listen to the podcast, you can search Tune to Nature podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And these are my contact details if anyone like to get in touch. And those are the cards out there as well. You can grab one, listen to the podcast, and So thank you so much for this opportunity.
That was fabulous. I love Sniper. I wish my dog has some of those basic training, but never mind. We'll work on it. Any questions? Who do you mainly do your filming through? I noticed that in the information you did them through Geographic and all sorts of groups. So where do you normally send your films? Or are you sponsored for them?
This film was a student film.
Right.
So that was my graduation film, so that I had to do for the coursework assignment. So you get some money from the university for travel and support. But otherwise, it's my own stuff. And the Stewart Island Daughter's film was for DOC. Right. So they took care of the travel and stay over there. So,
Excellent. Any other questions? I think they're all spellbound, because I think we're all here, really believe in the native forest and the native fauna and the animals, so we're probably talking to a converted audience. But I'd like to thank you very much. I think it's fabulous, and I did love that film, and I love Snipe. I thought, what a gorgeous dog. So thank you very much.